Once upon a time, in a world not too far away from this room, there was a story being told, a very convincing story. Let me tell you about it. The tech people are the nerdiest, smartest, and fastest kids in the room. What if that statement is wrong? What if you weren't that person? The message was subtle but clear. Move along. I think, or at least I, heard this story quite a lot of time in my experience. And raise your hand if you've heard this story too, that you do not belong in tech because you're not a nerd or you're not the smartest kid in the room. Today, I will challenge this story. I will not use statistics or theory. What I will use is something more powerful, the experience of people who have been there. You may have heard that line, that story, maybe from a teacher who meant well, maybe from someone at home that just wanted you to choose safer, or maybe, just maybe, you were once in a room and you looked around and you thought, I don't belong here. I was, at one point, the same as you. I was a high school student, and I had my life all mapped out. I knew exactly what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a pharmacist or a pediatric surgeon. So there was no question. I had a clear mind. I had a line, a purely straight line, from where I was to where I was supposed to go. Until one day, and that's where the story begins. This day was the time I had to do an observation week. You know, this thing you do because you have to, you're supposed to, but you don't expect anything out of it. So I decided, okay, I know already medicine world, I know it, I don't want to do something like that. So let's see something else. And I had the opportunity to go on a trading floor. I entered on a trading floor, and wow, the energy, the buzz, numbers flying, orders going all around the world, just by the push of a single stroke. That's buzzing, that's energy, that's something I want to live, and yet I know nothing about. You know, life couldn't be different. You know, it's not about the journey, it's about the destination. I had two choices, economics, medicines. One single decision. I chose economics. I chose the unknown, and I chose the leap of faith. A few years later, I graduated with a master in financial management. 2010. Ready to conquer the world, right while there was a financial crisis in full swing. Banks, they were not hiring. Well, I guess the world I imagined I would enter couldn't have looked more different than that. I had the opportunity to start as a tax advisor in a Big Four. On paper, really narrow. In reality, it couldn't have been further than this. One day I was doing regulation, the other day I was doing finance, and another day I was doing IT. This is something I didn't know yet, and I could not name it. But what fueled me was the multidisciplinarity. Because you do not have to just know one single thing. You are even more powerful if you grab more disciplines, because you become sharper, you see clearer, and you ask better questions. 2017, my whole world changed again. Totally something new. I fell into blockchain. Similar to Obelix falling in the cauldron of magic potion, except I'm not having his strength. And I don't know if you've heard about blockchain or Web3, but I will give you a little class and I will teach you what it is and what does it mean in a way that makes sense to me. Stay with me. Take a tower of Lego bricks. If you take one single brick and you put information that you don't want to lose at any cost, you put, I don't know, time, location, a piece of information, a record. You put all of that in this small brick, and to make sure that it's there forever, you also put information about the brick that is before in the tower. So once it's validated by the network, you just add it, and it's there. If at one point anyone from the network wants to change the information included there, what happens? Try to remove a brick from a Lego tower. It breaks. That's the fundamental of blockchain, something that is auditable, transparent, and immutable. Just think about the application in real life. Financial transactions being there forever, not being controlled by banks, by the authorities, by corporates. Think about chocolates that you might have had for breakfast. You want to check whether it's fair trade. The full life cycle can be traced on a blockchain, and you can make sure that from the exploitation to your plate, it has followed the right cycle. Voting polls, you want to make sure that there was no fraud. Nobody was actually trying to modify the results. Use blockchain, because it's there, the data is there, and it can be trusted. Carbon credits. If for once we could have carbon credits that really mean something, and it's not just something on paper, that you can trace and ensure it was really done correctly. I've been in the field of blockchain for the last 9 years, and I've been also in finance for more than 15 years. I have this experience of going from one world to another. And today I'm a director of products in digital assets in a global leading bank. I have what is the most wonderful job. I'm at the frontier of Web3, and at the same time, I'm a financial girl working with and in tech without having graduated in tech. And this is really powerful. This is my biggest strength. You will see that you do not have to study in one field to end up in another one, or you can just decide whatever you want to do with your life. At the same time, I mentioned something about data. You might have grasped it. Blockchain relies on the data, but it's not the only technology to rely on data. Artificial intelligence, it relies on data too. Both of these technologies, when combined together, they are the most powerful technologies that you can have. But to ensure that, you have to have trusted data. You have to make sure that the data that is being used for algorithms or application of blockchain, they actually work together and can be reliable. If you take data for AI that is reliable and unbiased, it can definitely power the society. It is really something that can leverage all our doings, all our decisions. On the contrary, if you take data that is biased and that is not reliable, AI will not just only use this information and create something wrong. It will emphasize this, and it will create something even bigger that is incorrect. There is two elements in technology, the technology itself and the people that build it. There were studies that shows that if you're taking homogeneous teams, then you end up with blind spots. If, on the contrary, you take heterogeneous teams, diverse teams, then it's becoming more closer to the reality. It becomes more powerful. When using AI, you have models behind it. And usually in the teams, it's kind of usually the same persons, the same type of person, the same background, the same gender, potentially the same or similar life experience. What is the result of that? You have models that are created around their view of the world, of their world. The people that are outside of these worlds, they are usually excluded from these models, resulting in huge bias. You want a real-life example? There was a big tech giant who had put in place an algorithm for recruitment. It was approximately 8 to 10 years ago. What happened is that they trained this algorithm based on a database of 10 years approximately. And it appeared that this algorithm was systematically downgrading women's CVs. It's not that it was trained to discriminate. It was just that the database was 10 years of data of hiring men mostly. And it was biased. And it was the system that was being used until someone noticed and changed something about it. If you want to change something, it's not that there is a better code, but you have to ask better questions as well. And to do that, you have to diversify. You do not have people who are too diverse. You do not have people who have a too diverse background, a too diverse way of thinking. This is actually creating powerful things. This is creating the future of technology. You know, you do not have to have your starting point being the same as the ending point. And you do not have to find your path. You have to build it. It might not be a straight line, because each time there is a detour, you will learn something different. And that will be your biggest strength. What I want you to live today is to actually feel like you're not too much empathetic, too much multidisciplinary, too much artistic, too much of anything. There is no such thing as too much. There is just a variety of people who together can build a powerful technology. If I have to ask you one thing, just do this action. Think about something you love and think about how or what technology could make this world where we live in more human, more accessible, more fair. Then you connect what you love, what the future you want to live in, and try to connect the two. And see whether you can make the change. Because this is your future, this is a blank page, and you have every right to be there. So never let anyone tell you you do not belong here, because you do, you always did, and you always will. Thank you very much.